Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ. Highly touted prospect Cooper Flagg will make his debut for Duke tonight against Maine as the college basketball season gets underway in earnest. Flagg is the only freshman named to the AP preseason All-America team and is expected to make a significant impact at both ends of the floor. Flagg, one of 4 five-star prospects at Duke, looking to help the Blue Devils advance past the round of 32 in the tournament for the first time in 3 seasons. Other games tonight include #1 ranked Kansas hosting Howard. UNC Asheville goes to Tuscaloosa to face #2 Alabama. Jackson State goes to #4 Houston. And we get ranked on the left coast. It's a late one. 11:30 Eastern time tip-off for #6 Gonzaga welcoming #8 Baylor. And let's welcome in college basketball writer and analyst Garry Parish to help us set up opening night. Garry, big night for Duke, big night for Cooper Flagg. Expectations sky high for him. What are you expecting to see tonight?
Generational talent, be excellent against his home state school. That is obviously why this game was made. Cooper Flagg, the rare elite basketball prospect from the great state of Maine. So Maine comes into Cameron Indoor. I don't think, Jeremy, that Cooper Flagg's going to score the way, say, Kevin Durant or Michael Beasley scored as a freshman, but he's going to impact winning in so many different ways. You'll look up and it'll be something like 15 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, a couple of steals. The plus-minus numbers are going to be good. This young man has been the best player and prospect his age for several years now. He was the #1 recruit in the class of 2025, reclassified to 2024, immediately became the #1 recruit there. He is widely considered to be the favorite to be the #1 pick in the 2025 NBA draft. I know we live in a country where we like to argue about everything, especially heading into election, but there's really no argument about Cooper Flagg. Everybody agrees he's fabulous.
Flagg is the headliner, but there's a lot of young talent on this Duke team. Is there anyone else you're keeping an eye on tonight?
Well, Konkanopoulos is a guy who's gotten a lot of really rave reviews coming out of the preseason. He is, like Cooper Flagg, a 5-star prospect. And listen, I'm old enough to remember it was a few years ago when Duke enrolled a #1 recruiting class, and in order, everybody thought the best players would be R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish, and then Zion Williamson. Very quickly, we learned that Zion Williamson was not only the best prospect, but best player on that Duke team. He took them to within seconds of the Final Four. I say all that to say I don't think that's where we're going to be this year. You're right. Duke is loaded with freshman talent. Multiple guys, in addition to Cooper Flagg, who could get their name called in the lottery of the 2025 NBA draft, but the star is going to be the star. Cooper Flagg will be the face, not only at Duke, but possibly the entire sport.
Game tipping off at 7 Eastern tonight. We mentioned the late ranked-on-ranked game between Gonzaga and Baylor, forcing us to stay up a little bit later than usual tonight. This is a 2021 National Championship rematch, which Baylor won. They've won the last 2 in a row in terms of the matchup between the two. Both teams strong in season openers. Garry, what do you hope to learn here in this ranked-on-ranked matchup?
I'm just appreciative that we have it because, as you pointed out, we don't have many of these, and we never get many of these, largely because college basketball coaches, for reasons that have never made a lot of sense to me, are very hesitant to challenge themselves in the first real game of the season. So a question might be, well, then how does Baylor and Gonzaga get here? Think about it in these terms. Who has better job security than Scott Drew at Baylor, who has won a national championship, built that program from nothing, and just turned down the Louisville job and the Kentucky job? Like, they'll have a statue of him on that campus someday, if not that, his name on the court. Over at Gonzaga, Mark Few, similar status, a future Hall of Famer. His name will be all over everything there someday. My point being that Mark Few and Scott Drew can take a season opening loss, even a season opening beating, and their fans don't flip out. Their bosses don't flip out. Everything's fine. So they are willing to do something like this. And I think what we're going to watch late tonight, if we're all lucky enough to stay up late enough for it, is 2 legitimate national championship contenders. They played each other in that 2021 title game of the NCAA tournament, and I'm not predicting that this season, but I don't think it's crazy to think that they could meet in a title game of an NCAA tournament in 2025. for the second time.
Zags have won 18 straight season openers heading into that late one tonight. All right, Kansas enters the season as the #1 team for the 5th time, and historically that's not been a harbinger of good things. Big favorites against Howard here, though. Given what happened last year during the season and at the tournament, Gary, how much pressure is on Bill Self and company going into this season?
Well, I don't think there's any real pressure in the sense that, like, you know, he's on the hot seat. If it doesn't go well, there might be a coaching change. Like, there are coaches out there and programs dealing with real job pressure. That's obviously not the case at KU. But Bill holds himself to a high standard, and those fans hold that program to a high standard. And that was really unusual for Kansas to finish so deep down in the Big 12 standings last season. Now, it's not hard to understand. It was hard to predict, but not hard to understand once you realize how the season unfolded. Yeah, Hunter Dickinson was great. DeJuan Harris, KJ Adams had nice seasons, but they needed either Nick Timberlake or Marco Jackson to be good. Either one of them. Neither one was. And then when Kevin McCullers, who was really their best player last season, was hampered by an injury that eventually led to him being shut down, then they just didn't have the numbers to compete in a league like the Big 12 or go very far in the NCAA tournament. And you heard Bill Self talk about it at the end of last season. It ate him up, and he said he was already thinking about how to never get in that position again. How did they do it? NIL and transfer portal. They went out and got big players from other teams, most notably A.J. Storr out of Wisconsin. And I think Kansas, not only preseason #1 in the AP poll and coaches poll, but also my top 25 and 1, is now clearly equipped with the best roster to build an NCAA tournament championship team. It's not the most talented roster. That's probably Duke's. But when you talk about positional size, proven commodities, and a Hall of Fame coach, Kansas obviously checks all of those boxes. That is my pick to win the national championship.
Gary's top 25 and 1 available for you over on CBSSports.com. Okay, the Mark Pope era gets underway tonight as number 23 Kentucky faces Wright State in Lexington. Pope has 0 returning players from last season as this roster turns right over. Where are your expectations for these Wildcats at this point?
I do not have Kentucky in my top 25 and 1, but if I did say a top 35 and 1, they would be in there. So I think they're going to be good enough to make the NCAA tournament, but probably not good enough to be a real threat to go to a Final Four or win a national championship, which, I should be clear, is completely okay in year 1 for Mark Pope at Kentucky, or at least it should be. The truth is, there's nothing he could have done within reasonable expectations to return any of that roster that John Calipari recruited to Lexington. John Calipari has more former Kentucky players at Arkansas than Mark Pope has at Kentucky. So he had to really rebuild it through the transfer portal, and he did about as well of a job as you could reasonably hope for him to do. The problem, of course, is that teams built this way, and we've only got a little bit of history connected to this. Building teams through the transfer portal, so many newcomers to 1 year. Teams typically built this way are not very good. Last year, every team that took at least 7 transfers from the portal would have been left out of the NCAA tournament on Selection Sunday if not for getting an automatic bid. So the history isn't favorable for teams built this way, but I believe in Mark Pope. I believe in the roster. I don't think they'll be great, but I do think they'll be good. And just being good is a breath of fresh air around that program, because it's really been an unhappy place for at least the past few years as John Calipari was struggling to maintain where he had taken that Wildcats program initially after becoming that coach back in 2009.
And looking to get off to a winning start tonight, going for their 101st win all-time in season openers. College basketball writer and analyst Garry Parish joining us here on HQ to preview opening night. Gary, always great to see you. And, of course, Gary's part of the Eye on College Basketball podcast alongside Matt Norlander. The latest episode, a mailbag, answering all your biggest questions as you head into this college basketball season. Download and follow wherever you get your pods or scan that QR code. Listen to that mailbag episode right now.